So Ty Coleman, the mayor of Alamosa, is a fascist bankster. He's a fascist bankster. At least he was in the beginning of his term. He was still working for the Rio Grande Bank. They call it the savings and they're not savings. They're a bank, okay? They're one of the most greediest institutions out there. He's a tool of the oligarchs. So Ty Coleman takes care of the plutocrats and he takes care of the rich and the powerful, but just not the working class or the poor. And 1 out of 5 people in Alamosa are poor. That's 20%. 20%, 1 out of 5 people that live in Alamosa, Colorado have been given a poverty death sentence. He works at Rio Grande Bank. Their CD rates there are lower than inflation, meaning that if you put your money into a certificate of deposit at the Rio Grande Bank, you will lose money. You're not saving anything. And so he's a fascist. Ty Coleman is a fascist. Why do I say that? Well, of course he's a fascist. He's the mayor. The cops obey anything he says, right? He's a fascist because Mussolini and FDR defined fascism as corporatism. Mussolini is the father of fascism. FDR is the greatest Antifa president we've ever had. And so FDR, Mussolini, opposite ends of the spectrum, they define fascism as the exact same thing. It's when the government, it's when the capitalists control the government. It's when the government class and the capitalist class are the same people. That's fascism. He works at a bank and he's a mayor, so he's making money for the bank. He's employed by the bank. Does he get more money from the bank or does he get more money for being a mayor? Which is his greatest priority? Does he want to make sure the banks are doing good or does he want to make sure that the people are doing good? Alamosa has kept marijuana illegal. So the city that he is the mayor of, this is Colorado. We're the first state in the nation to legalize marijuana. Could you imagine living in Alamosa, being a pothead, and you're still having to ride, dirty. You're still just to smoke pot. You lived in Alamosa your whole life. The whole state legalized. It's been legal for 8 years. But not in Alamosa. No, because they're fascists. They don't understand personal freedom. They don't understand personal freedom. Also, there's no way for anybody in the 12th Judicial District to file criminal charges. If you're a citizen, you cannot file criminal charges in the 12th Judicial District. You can't go to, if the cops, the judges, the DA investigators, if they all just say, we don't care about crime, we don't care about your life, then nobody's going to do anything about it. The Rocket Docket slaughterhouse remains dormant against people, against the bad people. There's no justice. My God, this incredible. It's just incredible. It's incredible how people are. I mean, what do they support? Like, my God, I'm sitting there trying to say, enforce the law, be against crime, know right from wrong. But if the judges and the cops and the DA investigators and all the establishments say no, there's no way for a citizen to file charges in spite of all the freedoms that we've been guaranteed by Colorado's Constitution. Ty Coleman is the mayor of a fascist city that's kept marijuana illegal. He works at a bank where they steal your money if you invest in one of their certificates of deposit. He's both a bankster and a mayor. He's a fascist bankster. And Ty Coleman is on a board that reviews the 12th Judicial District's local judges. The Blue Book, the board that gives overglowingly reviews to the judges. The Blue Book every year. All the judges get retained in Colorado, and the Blue Book says that they did, every single one says that they did good. Where is the non-bias? Where is, you want me to believe your overly glowing review? Throw in a criticism or two, but no, not at all. So Ty Coleman is reviewing the judges, saying they're all good. He's mayor. He's in charge of the cops. And when it comes to the James Marshall case, it's no surprise to me, it's not shocking to me that Ty Coleman, the fascist bankster, who doesn't give a shit about the poor people or the working class of Alamosa, wouldn't give a shit about James Marshall. He doesn't give a shit about James Marshall's right to safety, security. These are all the rights that we are guaranteed. These are just some of them. We got a couple more, plus the American rights that you should be, familiar with, the right to free speech and peaceful assembly and the rest. But here in Colorado, we got more freedoms than just American freedoms. We have Coloradan freedoms that's guaranteed by the Bill of Rights of Colorado's Constitution. And so, Ty Coleman doesn't know that. Ty Coleman, since Alamosa's kept marijuana, they don't understand personal freedom. And so the freedoms, Ty Coleman doesn't know that we Coloradans have a right to safety. We Coloradans have a right to security. If we don't have safety and security, then we have a right to revolution. That's Article 2, Section 2. We got a right to life, liberty, and property. We got a right. We Coloradans have a right to get justice through our court system. That's the people's court. That's our court system. Read your Constitution. Ty Coleman doesn't know that we have victims' rights. Victims' rights. We have the right to remonstrate. We have not just demonstrate, but to remonstrate. We have a right to speak, write, or publish whatever we want. We have a right to be free from debtor's prison. We have a right to be an atheist. No person shall be denied any civil or political right, privilege, or capacity on account of his opinions concerning religion. Section 4, Clause 1, Article 2. So, I have a right to be an atheist, a right to be free from debtor's prison, right to safety, security, revolution, life, liberty, property, right to get justice through our court system, right to victims have rights, the right to remonstrate, speak, write, or publish, the right to have free and open elections, an individual right to guns in order to defend our home, person, and property. Those are the three. We have an individual right here to personally own a gun to defend our home, our house, our property, our person, other people's persons, and or to join in the sheriff's posse if the sheriff calls for our help. We have a right to excess taxes returned to us. We have a right to referendum initiative and recall. If we don't like the bastards, we can recall them and throw them out. We have a right to home rule. So cities and local municipalities have all the power. We the people have all the power here in Colorado. So Ty Coleman doesn't understand that James Marshall case. James Marshall was protesting, and then James Pruitt Jr. tried to take his truck, and he lunged into the protesters about 5 to 10 feet, scared James Marshall. James Marshall shoots him, and now people are trying to make it seem like it's just one-sided. Oh, James Marshall just goes around hurting people. He's just a criminal who just wants to harm people. No. If Danny Pruitt Jr. had not thrust his truck at the protesters, threatening the protesters and James Marshall's wife, then he wouldn't have got shot. He threatened it, and that's actually against the law. You have to have due diligence. You're driving a truck or a car, the pedestrian, especially in a crosswalk, have the right of way. If they weren't in a crosswalk, then the vehicle has the right of way. But if they're in the crosswalk, they might have been lingering, but they were getting out of the way. But it wasn't fast enough for Danny Pruitt. Danny Pruitt Jr. lunges 5 to 10 feet when the other cars did not. So they didn't run into they didn't try to run into the protesters. Attempted vehicular manslaughter. So it's no surprise to me, Ty Coleman is talking about how the protesters, it's weird how the protesters essentially get the opposite of what they're going for. The protest was to stop police brutality. If you're a good police officer, you would be against police. In fact, if you was you'd be against police brutality, but you'd also, if you're a good police officer, you would have been there at the scene protecting those protesters. But I know how Ty Coleman is, that he's a fascist bankster. So that Ty Coleman would say, okay, protest over there, dude over there, over there, and they keep trying to regulate, minimize, and trying to silence them as much as they can, and then once they push them all the way into the corner, and then somebody's messing with them, and a bad incident happens, they say, see, Ty Coleman is the person that will blind you. He will gouge out your eyes, and then he will reproach you for your blindness. Ty Coleman is a fascist bankster. Peace.